What's up, guys? So, like I said in one of my previous videos, I think JJ McCarthy might pull it off. I know people want to doubt him, but I'm telling you, he still has potential. I still believe in him. Let's see what Mike has to say about this.
Last time you think Kyler Murray didn't get all the reps?
Middle school.
Maybe, right? Kyler's like, I'm used to getting every rep, people. I'm trying to play fast. I'm trying to be as up to speed as possible. I'm not getting all the reps that I'm used to. And McCarthy's like, yeah, I can't control it.
Kyler Murray's going to win it. It's just a matter of time.
2 weeks ago, I sat right here and told you that Kyler Murray sounded like the bigger man in Minnesota. He was calm, he was grateful, and he was offering to mentor the kid whose job that he literally came to take. And if you missed that, this is what he said.
It's been great. Obviously, I know he's a younger guy. Any way I can help him, obviously, I feel like, I've played 7 years now, going on 8, so I'm considered a veteran, even though I don't see myself as that. Give him any knowledge that he needs. Again, we're both competitors.
See, if you look at him, he looks overconfident. Like he feels like he came there to take JJ's spot.
And I know, we both want what's best for the team. No, he's overly accepting, and he's always communicating, asking questions, stuff like that, so it's been good.
JJ McCarthy didn't exactly take too kindly
Now notice the difference. Watch JJ.
to Kyler Murray's comments. He compared it to two kids being in a classroom.
It's just like two guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us.
So this didn't last very long because on Tuesday, the quarterback that everybody already crowned walked out for the first snaps of Vikings minicamp, and he threw back-to-back interceptions. Ironically, the second pick got intercepted by a guy who you used to share a locker room with in Arizona. And the kid that everybody buried and the one I made an entire video about, the one who supposedly can't accept reality, he went 7 for 7. And then after all of that, guess which quarterback walked up to the podium and started complaining? It wasn't JJ McCarthy. So this situation just escalated and it got a lot more interesting, and I don't want to come off as one of those YouTube channels that overanalyzes every single day of minicamp, but I have to admit, this is fascinating stuff, guys. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how the most lopsided quarterback competition in all of football just turned into a full-blown soap opera. This involves a head coach doing damage control, an NFL insider flipping his entire story in 1 week, trade rumors with actual draft picks attached to a 23-year-old, Justin Jefferson commenting on the situation again, and a podcast with 2.6 million subscribers that got so thirsty for this drama that they ran a whole segment on practice stats that turned out to be completely fake. And I honestly think that last part might be the wildest part of this entire story. So before we get to the content, just brief shout out for my pop culture channel. We've been pumping out content there on a consistent basis. I think you guys are going to really like the new content we have coming on Flight Mike TV. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below and pinned in the comment section if you guys want to check it out. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! What's going on, everybody? So the last video was 2 weeks ago, so let's just pick up right where we left off. The last video ended with that two guys in a classroom clip doing over 1 million views and the entire football internet diagnosing JJ McCarthy in the reply section. Well, that clip got so loud that the coach of the Minnesota Vikings had to stand at a podium and address the vibes of his quarterback room. Think about that for a second. Kevin O'Connell is trying to install an offense, and instead he's out here doing couples counseling through the media. So what did KOC have to say about all this?
The dialogue between those guys, the interactions have been very professional, and it's just been a positive room, and I think Carson has a lot to do with that as the veteran in the room.
He also said something that I actually love, that his players don't all have to be smiling every day, and that there's no hiding anything in this competition, which is fair enough. That's a coach protecting his room. But then he kept going, and this is the part that caught my ear. According to ESPN, Kevin O'Connell laid out what he actually cares about. Did we take the right footwork? Were our eyes in the right spot? Did we make the right protection call against one of Brian Flores' blitz looks? And then he basically said he doesn't have much space left over for who says what and how they say it. So let's read between the lines here, shall we? This is a head coach telling both of his quarterbacks the same thing.
I am not grading press conferences. I am grading how well you perform in camp.
And here's a little thing I learned in this league. When a head coach has to publicly say a relationship is professional, it's because everybody is questioning whether it is or it isn't. Nobody holds a press press conference just to remind you that everything is normal. That in of itself is a story. And while the head coach was managing the temperature inside the building, the temperature outside of the building was going nuclear. That's because there's trade speculation now, guys. Remember Tom Pelissero from our last video? He was the insider out there telling everybody that this was a true competition. It was wide open, anybody's job. That was the whole sales pitch. Well, last week on KFAN, Pelissero changed his tune. After weeks and weeks of pushing the open competition story, he backed off of it. And then he floated the idea of the Vikings trading JJ McCarthy. This is the same insider, 10 days apart, from anybody can win this to maybe they just move the kid. So you might be wondering why the flip. Well, it's because of what the beat reporters were seeing with their own eyes. In the 2 OTA practices that the media got to watch, Murray reportedly looked like the clearly better player, and Pelissero hinted the rep split is about to start tilting. He said he'd imagine you're going to see the reps change a little bit over the next couple of weeks as the team locks in its training camp plan. ESPN's Vikings reporter Kevin Seifert went even further and flat out called Kyler Murray the heavy favorite to win the job. And once that's the take, the vultures start circling. Former Vikings linebacker Ben Leber went on KFAN openly pricing McCarthy. He said a 3rd round pick would feel really good, but a 4th is probably more realistic, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. A 4th round pick for
Okay, it'd be silly to get rid of McCarthy after one actual season. I mean, he's been with the team for a couple of years, but he only played most of a season. So, and he's on a rookie contract. So it's kind of silly to get rid of a guy that has potential on a rookie contract. I mean, at least give him one more year. Now, if he messes up this upcoming season, then it's a wrap. But I mean, you got to give him at least one more shot. What if this offseason he really develops?
a guy who was the 10th overall pick 2 years ago. Next thing you know, there's fake trade packages everywhere. The Jets, the Dolphins, the Steelers, even the Arizona Cardinals, which would be the funniest possible timeline. Now, let me be clear about something because this part really matters. Nobody from the Vikings has said one word about shopping JJ McCarthy. Not one report says that the team made a call. This is all pundits and former players doing the math out loud. But I've watched this league long enough to know that's exactly how these things start. The smoke shows up in June and the fire shows up in August. So on Tuesday, after minicamp practice, reporters put the question directly to JJ McCarthy. Do you want out? And to his credit, the kid did not blink. This is what he said.
I think I made it very clear I wanted to be here before I got here. And I love this organization. I love the coaching staff. I absolutely love these players to death.
And then he dropped one line that made me personally raise an eyebrow. He said he wouldn't want to change a single thing about how things went down in Minnesota.
This is where I want to be. I feel like I can thrive in this.
I think that's because this is like one of the first times he's faced real adversity. He's probably always been the star. Now he gets to the league. It was basically like he was coordinated to the starting position. So it's actually good that he had a shitty season, somewhat shitty, because they still won 9 games. And I still believe he could have won an extra 2 games. And they would have made the playoffs if he remained healthy. His whole thing is not being injury prone, because there's like 2 things against JJ. It's if he gets injured and if he plays shitty, or if he upsets Justin Jefferson.
System, and everything played out exactly how I wanted it. I wouldn't want anything else to change.
Hold on. Your team signed a former #1 overall pick to compete with you for your job. That #1 overall pick is the heavy favorite to take your job from you. And you're saying that this is exactly how you wanted it to go down? That's either the strongest mindset in the entire NFL or what I told you from the previous video, a guy that is just telling himself a delusional story. And after Tuesday's practice, I have to admit, I'm not so sure about the second one anymore because Tuesday's practice flipped everything on its head. Now, before I get to that, my personal take on this is I don't think the Minnesota Vikings would dare trade JJ McCarthy, and here's why. Throughout his 7-year NFL career, Kyler Murray has only played a complete season without any injuries 3 times. In 2021, he played in 14 games. In 2023, he played in 8 games, and last year he played in 5 games. His style of football leaves him more susceptible to injuries because he's a dual threat QB. And on top of that, he's an undersized dual dual threat QB. The guy is only 5'10", 207 pounds, so it's not a bad bet to bet that at some point throughout his Vikings tenure, Kyler Murray might miss a couple of games. And I even said in our last video, if JJ McCarthy stays locked in and prepared for when Kyler Murray misses those games, he can potentially win his job back. Could you imagine if Kyler Murray played average to above average football and JJ McCarthy came in and completely improved over how he was last year? That would put Kevin O'Connell in a very tough situation, and I don't think the Vikings would give up on a backup with very high potential who's only 23 years old just because they found a quarterback that might be better right now. Tuesday. It's the first day of mandatory minicamp. Murray gets the nod to take the very first reps with the starters, and he's the heavy favorite getting the heavy favorite treatment. ESPN's Lindsay Theory was on site, and 90 minutes into practice, she reported that Murray opened 7-on-7s by throwing back-to-back interceptions. And the details make it way worse, and this isn't me piling on. Their first pick was when Theo Jackson jumped a throw meant for the tight end and took it the other way, and on the very next snap, Murray tries to push one up the field, and the ball gets picked off by Byron Murphy Jr., which is crazy because Byron Murphy spent years in Arizona with Kyler Murray. Same draft class, same building, and the guy who watched him throw every single day read that ball like he'd seen it 1,000 times, because let's be honest, he has. The defense had a lot of fun with this pick. He lateraled it to Jackson while they ran it back. Meanwhile, the kid that everyone thought was a bust, a player that is worth a 4th round pick at this point, stepped into his 7-on-7 reps and went 7 for 7. The team's own recap literally wrote 7 up, 7 down. The ball never touched the grass. And in 11-on-11s with the starters, he connected on a deep ball just to put a bow on it. One quarterback was perfect. One quarterback threw 2 picks to start his day. And this isn't something that we had in our bingo card. So here's where it goes from a bad practice to a bad look, because after everything, Kyler Murray stood at the podium, and the first thing the football world heard from him was a complaint about the format, primarily the fact that he had to split reps.
I think the toughest part is, again, I was there for 7 years. I know I had 2 different, offensive systems, but at the same time, you're getting all those reps. Now having to split reps, it's me already being behind, not getting the amount of reps that you would typically want a guy to get learning an offense. That's probably the toughest part. Just again going back to the past, being in control of everything, understanding what we were already doing because I was comfortable within the system. Now coming into the new system, learning on the fly, trying to play fast, efficient, and let it loose while learning is that's the toughest part.
And to be fair to him, he owned every word of this. He literally called it selfish himself. He also said he's trying to embrace being uncomfortable and give himself some grace while he learns.
The other side of being uncomfortable, I think being uncomfortable for me, I've kind of just went,
You could tell he had a frustrating day and he's trying to cope with it. I think he felt like, the starting position was in his grasp. And then after that day, he felt like it slipped away slightly.
Head of steam and embrace the part of being uncomfortable.
Seifert noted that he was actually sharp for most of the session outside of those 2 interceptions. All of that's very real. Even the football complaint about this is legit. Kyler Murray spent 7 years in Arizona under air raid style offenses. Kevin O'Connell's offense is a completely different language. But bro, when you just look at the optics of this, you're a former #1 overall pick. You're the betting favorite to win this job. You got the first reps of the day and you threw 2 interceptions with them. And your message at the podium is that this competition is holding you back, and on the same day the kid that you're supposed to be burying goes perfect. There's no press conference that makes you look good after this. Ironically, McCarthy's podium was the complete opposite energy. When he was asked about the rep split, he basically shrugged.
Those reps being distributed are something out of my control, and the only thing I focus on is that next rep, and keep it as simple as that.
The man kept it that simple. Then he said that he feels the best that he's ever felt coming off of the 2025 season.
And right now, I feel the best I've ever felt playing the game of football, especially in this scheme.
He talked.
That's because he's in competition mode. See, the thing about JJ was he didn't really have to compete for the position. Pretty much they let Sam Darnold take it. They kind of competed, but Sam Darnold got the position because they wanted JJ to develop. And then since they lost Sam Darnold, he pretty much just got handed the position. and it didn't go the way that he wanted it to go. I mean, it was his first season. I don't know if they expected a Super Bowl. I mean, even if I said a winning season was 8 games and they won 9, for a rookie, that's a good season.
About the offense finally feeling instinctual, hearing the call and instantly seeing it as opposed to processing it. So it looks like McCarthy might actually have an advantage here because he spent 2 years with the Minnesota Vikings learning Kevin O'Connell's offense. Remember, during the year Sam Darnold was the starter, McCarthy was supposed to be the starter going into that year, but he injured himself during camp and he never got to see the season through. So let me bring back the question that I asked you guys 2 weeks ago. Which one of these two actually sounded like a leader? Last time, I think the answer embarrassed McCarthy. But when you ask that again, it's kind of funny how the entire story flips. And if you think flipping roles is wild, wait until you see what the Minnesota Vikings best player had to say about all this, because that in of itself is wild. Video, I showed you Justin Jefferson giving polite shade.
Justin had 1,000 yards, but all the frustrations, how did you do that?
Honestly, I don't know.
Jefferson posted a 59% catch rate, the worst of his entire career. So keep all of that in your head, because on Monday, one day before minicamp opened, Jefferson went on KFAN radio with Paul Allen and got asked about Kyler Murray. And what came out of his mouth was the nicest diagnosis of 2025 that you could ever get.
He understands the game. He understands the defenses. He understands just how to put touch on the ball, just enough to where it gets to where it got to go.
And here's the dagger.
Without making it difficult for us. He kind of throws the ball before you even get out that break. And,
that's good.
Yeah, for
sure. So
he
throws you open.
For sure.
He called him a smart guy and a competitor. Listen to what he's actually describing. Accurate, on time, anticipates, doesn't make my job harder. That's not a scouting report on a superstar. That is the best receiver alive describing what a normal quarterback does. And he sounds excited about it like it's a luxury on this team. You only talk like that if you spent a whole season living without it. And the man's catch rate already told us that story. Monday, he basically narrated it. And within a day, there were headlines saying Jefferson just told you McCarthy is a lost cause. Now, I'll admit that's the internet just putting words in his mouth. Jefferson also said in that same interview that he's looking forward to seeing JJ's improvements and he's excited for the competition. He was balanced, but the praise for Kyler Murray was so specific, so detailed, that the balance is what made it sting. And there's a number underneath all of this that explains Jefferson's whole energy. The Vikings have started 8 different quarterbacks in the last 3 seasons. During Jefferson's first 3 years, it was all Kirk Cousins. He started 49 out of 50 games. Since then, it's been a revolving door, and last season, the bottom fell out. This offense dropped from 6th in passing yards per game all the way to 29th, from almost 238 yards a game down to 166. Jefferson isn't picking sides, he's begging for competence, any competence. But here's the twist in this section. Not everybody that shared a field with JJ McCarthy is turning on him. The day Jefferson was praising Murray, Adam Thielen, who played with McCarthy last season and is a Vikings legend, went on Good Morning Football and gave the kid a defense. He said he's got all the traits, the skills, the strong arm, and get this, the dog mentality that everyone wants to find. Remember Jefferson's big question from last month? Who's gonna be that dog? Well, Thielen just answered it, and he didn't say Kyler. He also said McCarthy took candid feedback from O'Connell and went back to the drawing board this offseason, and the receipts back that up. Seaver reported that McCarthy spent his offseason in California working with quarterback trainer John Beck and has been living in the team's weight room. So while everyone was writing this kid's football obituary, he was quietly putting in the work. Tuesday might have been the first receipt of all this. So the locker room guys are split from the talking heads, which brings me to the talking heads, because this is where the story stops being about football and starts being something that this YouTube channel personally cares a lot about. So on Tuesday, hours after practice, on the Speakeasy podcast, LaShawn McCoy and Emmanuel Acho show, 2.6 million subscribers on YouTube, went in on Kyler Murray over the rep comments, and Shady McCoy did not hold back.
I love a super confident, arrogant player that's good. But you know what I hate? I hate a super cocky, arrogant player that's not that good, that's a little above average. That is Kyler Murray. He gets so bad. They say, one, what are you looking at? So when he came to Minnesota, I keep saying, like, why is everybody acting like he's about to save the day? You can't depend on him. He always starts out hot and eventually ends cold. This is not like dissing Kyler Murray, but it's like we hype him up for what?
And then he pointed right at the camera, so to speak, and said, that's Kyler Murray. He went on about how Kyler Murray always leans on what he did way back when, and asked the question half the league has whispered for years: what have you done for us lately? He even threw in that Murray's had good receivers his whole career, and the tape still doesn't add up. That's a two-time Super Bowl champion putting a 29-year-old quarterback on blast on a massive platform. So it's a big moment, right? Spicy clip, runs everywhere, the whole internet reacts. But there's just one big problem. Part of the segment was built on stats that don't even exist, and I'm dead serious. Sports Illustrated caught this. The show introduced the Murray conversation by reading practice stats from Tuesday's minicamp that came from a satire account on X. Made up numbers, outlandishly wrong, posted for engagement, and a podcast with 2.5 million subscribers read them like a box score. The real practice report, the one I just walked you through, came from the team's own website and an ESPN reporter standing on the sideline. It took me 5 minutes to find this. They didn't even look. This is the part of the story that drives me crazy, and it's bigger than JJ McCarthy versus Kyler Murray. The takes on this quarterback battle have gotten so hot that the content machine stopped checking whether things are true. A real two-pick practice happened on Tuesday. A real complaint happened at a real podium. The actual story was juicy enough, and they still reached for fake numbers because fake numbers were juicier. So here's my promise to you on this YouTube channel. Whenever we show you a statistic, we always verify it, we always fact check it, and we don't bring you information unless if it's 100% factually correct. And if we're unsure or if there are allegations, we make sure to specify if we are unsure or if it's allegations, as you guys witnessed with our Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini coverage, as you guys witnessed with our Josh Jacobs.
Well, like I said in the past, this is going to be JJ's chance to show that he's the man for the job. It's his job to lose. I know everyone's excited about the Kyler Murray redemption arc, but if Kyler wins the spot, that's good on him. But then they would have to trade JJ because his confidence would be killed in Minnesota. So there's no way you can keep him because it would be way more difficult for him to regain his confidence there. He would have to go to somewhere new. But again, I'm still riding with JJ. I think he still has potential. And I think this season, for sure, we'll go to the playoffs. Now, the one mistake the Vikings can make is if they try too hard to please Justin Jefferson. Because JJ, the other JJ, Jettas, he needs to understand that he's got to share the ball too. And Addison has been stepping up a lot. You know, Addison's like he's like a number one B for sure, you know, playing the number two, but we'll see.